Welcome to Reimagine Communication. This is an unfolding dialogue between Liv Larson and Kay Rung. For 3 decades, they have explored nonviolent communication, not only as a way to navigate conflict, but as a doorway into something larger. What it means to be human, together. Here, communication is not technique. It is presence. It is listening for what longs to be heard. It is daring to stay open in the midst of complexity. These conversations are living questions about truth, about connection, about the courage to meet life as it is and as it could be. You are invited to listen, to pause, and perhaps to discover something new moving in you. Let's begin.
All right, we're back again having a conversation about communication and what it means to be human. And today I'm thinking the conversation, the topic is the evolution of our self-talk, how we can tame our inner voices and become friends with ourselves.
I just saw a quote by Oscar Wilde where he says that loving yourself is the start of a lifelong romance. And I think that sounds like a good promise.
Yeah, a lifelong romance. So let's see if we can get any closer to that romance today.
Mm-hmm.
So I have some thoughts that I'm curious to hear your input on. That when we talk about our self-talk or how we talk to ourselves and our inner life, I think the map is quite important, or how we believe that it is. It's like, is there like an inner life that we are unaware of? And then the journey is about becoming aware of it? Or is it that we're creating that inner world moment by moment, depending on different different things?
Well, it's also there's also something in between. We are creating moment by moment this experience because of the past experiences, because of our memories, what we've gone through. We will create an inner space that sounds, or an inner voice that sounds a certain way to kind of guide us through life. So there's also a third and a fourth and a fifth way of describing it, I guess.
So it's like it's more complicated than that. That our past influences our present in the
Mm-hmm.
way that the past is our reference point in some way.
Yeah, and it's also I'm sitting here today. It's November, and we don't have much sun at where we live anymore, and I feel kind of grumpy and heavy. My body is not awake. So I'm like in a place where my body and my body regulation certainly affect my inner dialogue quite a lot. Like I have to struggle to find like a warmth. I just kind of get overwhelmed with how much my body doesn't like to have no sunshine whatsoever.
So in this present moment, the environment also affects how you experience your inner life, kind of.
Yeah. Yeah, and right now it's like give me sun or don't give me sun, and then it's fine. It's like there's no nuances to myself inner dialogue much at this very moment anyway.
So if there would be sun on you, then the romance you mentioned in the beginning would be much more, I don't know, warm and fun.
Well, it would be even easier to envision it. Right now, it's like uh, I'm much more focused on surviving, kind of regulating the irritation I feel in my body, kind of trying to just breathe and stay present and reminding myself that it will not always be this like this.
All right. So your memory of knowing that the seasons pass, and the summer will come in 6 months. So you're living on the hope now.
Yeah, well, it's kind of the prediction based on that memory or that experience or that knowledge that time will pass. And that makes actually a difference to my body and my then also my inner dialogue at the moment.
So understanding time helps you.
Yeah.
All right. So what else is there that influences our self-talk? The weather, obvious. Our past. What about our consciousness or awareness?
Well, that, but I also want to add, other than physical state, it's also the state of the people that is around me. Like, is it okay to celebrate oneself? Is it okay to be kind of, is it okay to be happy without actually having anything particular to be happy about? So also the cultural surrounding kind of influence how I can get at least to express what's going on inside, but also the continuous inner dialogue.
So you're saying, so if you're a kid growing up in a household where the parents and the sisters and brothers, they have a kind of openness about talking about their inner life and some acceptance. It's okay to celebrate. It's okay to be sad. That will affect, that experience will affect how your inner dialogue is.
I mean, our language is created by interactions with others. So that language will, of course, be the base of how I speak to myself as well. So that the use of words, but also of the framing of what's important to communicate about.
All right. So the environment, the physical environment, the social environment, um, and our past, and what else?
Well, as you were saying, what kind of consciousness level, what kind of focus do I have with my awareness moment by moment or day by day? That will also, of course, influence the self talk.
So for me, one way of kind of making it more concrete is if 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 I have a lot of categories that I can kind of create order in my experience. Categories like feelings, needs, dreams, hopes, thoughts,
Values.
values. If I can create order by understanding my experience and sorting them out in these categories. Do you agree on that?
Yeah, I'm kind of struggling with this self talk in the sense of how much do I need to be aware of how I sound internally? Like, how much do I first need to be aware of that before I kind of think of, can I actually, like you said, can I tame that voice? Can I teach that voice some other kind of way of speaking? Or can I just apply any of those numbers of techniques of self talk or self love or self empathy that is out there? And do they automatically work even if I don't know what's going on inside?
Well, I have some input on that. I remember I was in the Swedish gymnasium, like I think that's like high school
Mm-hmm.
level. So I was maybe 16, 17, something. and some girlfriends of mine, they brought me to some yoga talks, and there was some master, I don't know, some guru or something talk, and I felt really bored, and I didn't understand anything. So at that moment of time, I didn't have a clue. I was totally uninterested. It was only about looks, like how do you look, how do you perform in relationship to. So everything was about the outside, and the inside was not much. Um, and later in life, I found a lot of joy in listening to masters and gurus, and reading books about the inner life.
Mhm.
So do we have then we have some evolutional thinking here, that I'm actually changing over time.
Yeah, but what I also meant is like in a little bit later than that, but maybe in my 20s, I came upon the concept of affirmation, positive affirmations. So like uh, envisioning what I want to be like or how I want to show up, what I want to happen in my life. And that was like, wow, it's really working. A sense of that I could, uh, and I don't know if it was because it worked or it was because I was in that right frame of mind at the moment, if it matched where I was, or if it's just luck or what it was. Like, what is it that really shifted that? I don't know. Do you see what I mean?
So you meant that you had a sense, you gained some sense of power because you could think about yourself or what you wanted, and then it kind of happened, and then you thought this is a magical power that you have, something
A
like that.
magical power that I had, but it's also quite clear that it's for everyone. Like that thought was there. And it was only until later I realized that I set myself self up also for a lot of disappointment or a lot of illusion with that. But for some areas in life, it really shifted me to move towards what I had set up as a goal or as an affirmation.
So you can you give an example of a goal or an affirmation that worked for you, kind of?
Well, kind of feeling more relaxed around how much money I brought in every month and kind of celebrating what I did bring in rather than focusing on what I did not bring in. And it's kind of shifted that whole perspective to, yeah, I can relax into it because there is a flow in and there's a flow out. And that shifted my whole mindset in that moment around money and having more relaxation.
So what was the affirmation then? Like, what was the thought?
I can't remember exactly, but I think it was something like, I am relaxed around how money flows in and out of my life.
Oh, that was it. You
That was
just
it.
you thought, I'm relaxed, like I'm not afraid, I can fly.
Yeah, that kind of just affirming something to a nervous system that I was nervous around is my business that I started already then that is still going. Will that actually work? Because everyone around me said it will not work. This is an area where no one has succeeded in doing their business.
You can't
This
work with
was
this.
91 or 92, and they were saying that this is not possible. So I had to do a lot of kind of affirming that it will, and this was one of them.
So you were kind of your inner cheerleader, or would you say it like that? You're sharing on yourself, and that became a support that made you relax.
Yeah, but that's another. There's like two different nuances of those. One is the cheerleader, like, come on, yes, you can do it, go for it, that kind of voice. But this voice was also like, yeah, you can relax into it. Like, this is a thought you can have in there. I feel relaxed around the flow in and out of money in my life. And I said that to myself enough time that I started believing in it. So this was kind of more relaxed, and the other one was kind of, come on, you can do more.
So you're saying, so if we would play with the idea that there's two versions of you, one with this affirmation mindset and one without. So the difference would be that the one with, you would make different choices around money and work because you felt that you could trust and relax, and the other one would worry, and so then those two versions of you would end up having two different lives because you had different assumptions that you were acting on. Is that
I
what you're
mean,
saying?
that was the idea anyway, that this is how it works with affirmations, that at least I can relax into it. But then there was some areas where it didn't seem to shift anything, and it also felt more and more fake, M- more and more like a sense of that I was. It was almost like I was affirming one state of being, but I wasn't kind of growing or deepening anything. So it was almost
So
like it
could you
was
give an
also
example
froze.
of what would be something that didn't work? Like what kind of affirmation?
Well, I had a history of eating disorder when I was a teenager, and I still had that voice that said, if I just want to weigh a certain amount, a certain amount of kilos, or I shifted it to I want to feel thin and light, or all kinds of things around my body, uh, that it didn't shift anything. And a person that is into self-talk in that area might say, well, you did it the wrong way, or it was another, you need to think in another way, or but it doesn't matter in this case. It was just like clearly that there's more stuff going on than just that I can affirm something and then it will happen.
Yeah, you're not almighty. There's some things you are not able to just change with how you think about them.
Yeah, and it became very clear that I was trying to simplify life's abundance in a major way. And of course, I felt fake because I was then needing to to kind of take some things out that was in life, but I didn't listen to them.
Mhm. So what changed then over time? If we travel in the time machine, what did you learn some other method, or is it an unsolved puzzle still, or
Well, I'm
what
sure
happened?
there's always still a lot of things that can be done, uh, but there's like,
Or let
well,
me put it this way then. So you said you felt fake. Do you feel more real in relation to that now? And how come?
yeah, I feel. I mean, one of the things that helped me feel more real was nonviolent communication and the sense of the use of self empathy in the way it's presented there.
So what was helpful? And
It was less about talking to myself that I'm okay, it will be okay. You are fine, you're great. Less about positive thinking and much more about noticing, where am I right now? What's going on? Finding ways to describe what is going on. Maybe, I feel some disappointment, and pausing with that, becoming kind of real and inviting more depth into my emotional realm. And then using that deep disappointment to connect that to needs. To kind of notice that, whoa, this is the need that is maybe not met. That's why I feel hopeless or despair or disappointment around a certain thing. And that kind of shifted also with the curiosity towards myself and the warmth towards myself, that and the kind of allowing myself not to be okay all the time, allowing myself not to look for the positive, but to actually look for what is every given moment.
So, are you saying that you started to be able to relate to that voice that was kind of complaining?
Yeah, I could take a step back and say, "Hi, I'm not here to silence you. I guess you have a good purpose as you're going on about I should be more orderly, or I should uh, do less things, or I should do more things, or whatever." Instead of, silencing that voice and saying, "I have a better one," to actually trust that that inner voice was going to point me towards something that I could use and cooperate with, which was a much deeper and helpful approach, I'd say, in most circumstances. Not in everyone, but in most.
So are you saying that earlier you would kind of want to silence that inner critical voice through affirmation or through some some action or some technique, but now you were doing the opposite a little bit. You were kind of getting curious about that voice and kind of embracing it because you learned words, categories, and focus your attention in a way that helped you kind of stay present and see something else than something that needed to be silenced.
Yeah, silence, but also ignoring it. Maybe not always silencing it, but ignoring it. Like you are just, you're just nagging. You're just complaining about me. You're just judging me. I'm not going to listen to you. I'm just going to go and replace you with some other voice. But there's also been fascinating moments where I noticed how that kind of approach can be really, really helpful. So it's not like
Which kind of approach do you mean specifically?
well, I remember particularly being part of a gym class some years ago, and we were all doing the same exercises. Like someone was leading us, and we were doing some repetition, lifting something. I can't remember anymore what the regime was, but and I noticed the person standing beside me. It was a guy younger than me, and he was doing this exercise, and I was like about to give up. And then I heard that voice that said, "You can do it. You're strong. You're capable." I could hear that voice that was like from the past. And it really helped me have fun. It really helped me go for it, like so that I could get myself exhausted. And in that place, that's what I wanted. I wanted to have a good workout. And in that moment, if I would have tried to have nuanced listening, empathic self empathy according to nonviolent communication, I probably would not have completed these exercises. I would not have gone through that resistance and then fallen happily into a sweat pool afterwards and noticing how good that did me. So
So it kind of
there's
helped
this
you
place for
push through.
yes, yeah.
Yeah. So then the trick sounds like to know when is it good to push through and let that voice kind of be the coach to push you through, and then knowing when pushing through is not the best option, and then
Yeah.
having that more gentle dialogue.
Yeah, and I remember doing quite a lot of coaching during, I don't know, 10, 15 years with people, and they all could do nonviolent communication and find feelings and needs in communication with others. And then when I suggested, let's go for the self empathy part of nonviolent communication, and most people would say, Sure, I can do that. It's about positive thinking. We can just think positively about ourselves. Isn't that self-empathy? And it took them some time to realize the difference between positive thinking and self-empathy in nonviolent communication.
Okay, so if someone listens to this and say, "Oh, but so what is the difference then?" Like positive thinking is to kind of see that the glass is half full, right?
Or see the glasses, yes, half full rather than half empty, yes.
Yeah. So
Well,
seeing the sun rather than the clouds.
yeah.
So the possibilities, focusing on that.
Hmm.
So how is that different from self-empathy then?
Well, some self-empathy would be, oh, I'm really like today when I feel kind of grumpy, my body doesn't enjoy that the sun doesn't really come up. I can kind of take a breath and notice and let me do it for a moment. So I would say, oh, I guess I'm worried actually. I'm grumpy, but it's also I'm worried. Uh, yeah. When if I talk to myself, I say, I hear you worried, and is it like what is the worry about? And I let it kind of take some time. I let it sink in. There's no hurry. But so that's why you can see this is not an efficiency thing. It's more like a warmth and giving space tool. So then I would say, so there's some worry. Yeah, the worry is that I will lose all energy. Like there are still things I want to have energy to complete, even if it's November and not much sun. So you want some re some trust in that you will have the energy that it takes to do this. And when I notice that, when I take in these words as if they were said from a good friend, but it's actually me talking to myself, and I found that word trust. Yeah, I want to trust that there will be energy. I notice something shifting inside, and there's even a sense of being touched and a bit, yeah, touched. And like, yeah, and it's so hard. It's like hard to trust because I feel kind of grumpy and heavy and would just like to go and lay down. Yeah, it's like you need some time to melt that and to know what to do, to keep that trust and that energy. So it's like holding myself with much more warmth and care than just fixing it, like saying, you have the energy, you can go for it. You will have, you have abundance of energy, you're connected to the life source. It wouldn't give me that sense of empathic warmth, self connection. And now already, just doing this little bit of few minutes, I feel much more kind of here, present.
But do you get more energy, or are you kind of fooling yourself just to be soft and nice to yourself? Because I
Yeah.
don't see the sun. Like it's still dark. It's still November. So
Yes.
could you say more about that? Like what is the difference from what is happening externally and what is happening internally? Like
Yeah. What I noticed what was when I connected to that need for trust that there will be energy, there was a little bit of shift in my emotional state, like a sense of being touched, and I relax in my body. It's like, yeah, it's okay to be a little tired, and because I trust in myself that I will keep doing the things that is needed for me to have energy, to go out and take a walk, or to eat good food, or to do some breath work or see some friends. There's more like the sense of, yeah, I will cooperate around the energy with myself much more than I need to be fixed. So it does change the and that gives me more energy actually.
so for me, it sounds like you're kind of adapting to reality rather than wanting to escape reality. I mean, reality for us in the north is that half of the year is dark and half of the year is no dark. It's sunlight all the time.
Yeah.
So kind of admitting or surrendering to just the external fact that now it's winter, it's dark, and not how do you say, not um, not faking it, but letting yourself kind of adapt to that external fact. Is that?
Yeah, it's like I don't have to optimize my being. I don't have to stress myself to be in another way. But when I know that, oh, I'm grumpy, I'm low, it becomes more clear that there are things that I need to do in order to keep myself awake. Like I probably need to drink more water. I do need to take that walk. So when I'm grumpy and kind of irritated, I'm not very, I don't have many ideas other than getting the grumpiness out.
uh But if someone would live in the north like we do, and when it's get darks like November, and the snow hasn't arrived, so it's like really pitch dark, a lot of hours. What if I then start to think, feeling this heaviness or tiredness, thinking that there's something wrong with me, that
Mhm.
I'm 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 uh, I'm not so productive, because that is one of the things we need to be when we live in the north. Productive is a good thing. So
Mhm.
what if this seasonal change affects our inner experience, and then we interpret it that there's something wrong with us,
Mm.
and not looking for D vitamins and not looking to adapt to the season, but to kind of use it as fuel for self criticism or self hate, or kind of all those thoughts that might pop up. What do you have to say about that?
Well, it sounds like you have thought a lot around that, about that. What do you have to say on that?
I just listening to you, I find it so kind of interesting that the environment impacts my well-being, and if I'm not aware that how the the external or the environment impacts me, I might think I might give the kind of uh, the reason another destination. So I might think that there's something wrong with me, and that could be like a horrible mistake in one sense, that I could eat D vitamins, or I could call a friend who lives down south and change houses for a couple of weeks, or if that is possible, or I could start to plan a life not living in the north, if that is something I'm suffering from, or it doesn't have to be about there's something wrong with me, like making it a psychological problem.
Yeah, yeah, and the problem with that, the problem with the problem is that then I might get into all kinds of areas where I try to fix myself because my analysis of where I am is based on something that might not even be true. So I might get really lost in how to speak to myself, how to remind myself, how to hold myself.
Yeah. But then there's people who live places where there's no, like, the darkness is evenly spread, meaning
Yeah.
the nights are dark and the days are bright. So they don't know what we're talking about, if
Yeah.
they haven't been visiting us in November, December, and January, maybe February as well. But they also have problems with their, like, feeling low and stuff. So then it's not about the sun.
Yeah.
Then they might need to look somewhere else.
Yeah, yeah. And I think we also need to be aware of that, but we live in a quite of a um, it's kind of strongly affecting us, the nature around us. But yeah, that's we all have that inner dialogue that we can learn something about, because we are going to be with ourselves for our whole life. So why not? And like, I remember my mom, who I often refer to now, she's 89, but about 5 years ago, it was the first time I heard her say, and I think you were there at the same place. I think it was a dinner table. She said, "Oh, I'm so hard towards myself." And I almost fell out of my chair, because it was the first time I heard her refer to her inner dialogue. The first time I heard her recognize that she's hard on herself, that she's should be better at whatever she does, better at cooking or better at, whatever. So that is also like a measurement. When does that voice come up, that we become aware of that we are not, that we are hard on ourselves? Because before we know that we're hard on ourselves, it's kind of, why would we learn a method or some tools?
Yeah, before we think that's the truth. Like, I am this way. I'm more written in stone, kind of. But
Yeah.
when I remember when I started hearing my inner dialogue, my inner voice, as something that I could listen to rather than that was the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And that was very exciting, because it was like I had this observing ability. And then, after having been kind of getting used to that, I also started to notice that also things also changed, because I could see them, so I could play. I had more choice. So I think that is like a milestone of inner self-talk, when we can actually start to hear it as something going on, without all of our parts needing to either fight it or surrender to it.
Mm.
um yeah.
Yeah, it's quite a moment, and I think it can come as a like a big thing, or it can come kind of gradually, and it can come and go. Like, I've had moments in my life where I kind of had it strongly, and then moments when I kind of lost it. What is it that I'm really saying to myself? Because I'm guessing there's an inner dialogue that I'm kind of not able to, because maybe of stress, to put my focus on. Like, for example, in mediation, where I'm so focused on the parties that I'm not sure there is something going on, but I'm not sure what it is. And I don't have the space and time to attend to that. And what a super help it is then to to have friends or people that I can turn to and say, can you help me kind of recognize what I'm telling myself again? Can you help me sort out what is that inner voice, and why do I feel like I feel, and what is there going on? So that inner voice can also be helped by people around me, if they're willing to support me, and just accepting that this is the voice I uh, that is going on in me.
So you're saying that when we are accepting enough, so we're allowing ourselves to loudly say what's going on inside, so others, our friends, can hear us.
Yeah.
So that will be like a prerequisite, because then our friends can hear us, and that helps us to hear ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, we both do trainings in nonviolent communication. And when at the first day of a training, I usually try to do some kind of exercise where I let people show a little bit about that inner voice, how they see themselves. Because it seems like that is also creating a lot of safety. When people know that other people also have, like, for example, critical inner voices, I'm not the only one, but the whole group has that. There is something that relaxes into the acceptance that, yeah, sometimes we are hard on ourselves, and let's work on that together. So there's a beauty in sharing that field of self-reflection with others.
I do that too, but a little bit differently. I just need to go to a whiteboard and paint and write something, and people will see that I'm not writing perfectly, like spelling, or my paintings are not that beautiful. So I think my way of doing it helps people to see that you don't have to be perfect to be here. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So now, yeah. So now we've been, if we reflect a little bit about the conversation so far. So we kind of went from some kind of magical relationship to our inner world, like I can just say something and then it happens, like affirming. And then if it works, well, the magic works, and I believe it strongly. And then probably I will do it more because it worked, and then I will do it and notice that it doesn't work all the time. So then that makes me curious. And while I do that, I'm also practicing listening to my inner voice in some sense. And then one day it might become something that I can kind of step back and see from the outside a little bit more. And then I get even more power to kind of influence my inner relationship to these voices. And then I might, end up in a nonviolent communication workshop, or have a friend who talk about it, and then I learn more categories of words like feelings, needs, all these. So I start to create some more order into my inner life.
And usually we also learn to consider our bodies in nonviolent communication, like observations around our body. That is also part of it, I think,
What do
together
you
with the
mean, like
categories.
standing in front of a mirror, or making observations like internally, like sensing that I'm sweating or I'm feeling tense, or what do you
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, like that. Referring to, oh, I'm hearing this, I'm noticing this in my body, I am seeing this. So, kind of connecting how our bodies are affected together with those categories of feeling words. And by the way, emotion words, there's lots of research on showing that the more nuances we can have around emotions, like the more emotion words we know, the better we can actually deal with life's circumstances, because we're getting like one category that can help us navigate. But I just want to say that I think I took you away from where you were going before with
Yeah,
your.
so that was my kind of going back to the conversation from the beginning and summarizing it, and then imagining, so what would be the next step, uh what happens after that. and and I want to check something with you, because one of the um I would say most fun or most beneficial processes that I know about is the inner chooser, inner educator one.
Mm.
Like, and the purpose for that is kind of to learn from one's mistake without hitting oneself.
Mm-hmm.
But what I find meaningful is that I'm practicing talking to different sides of myself that are actually arguing.
Yeah.
Like, I have one side that is, you know, being critical about some of my choices, and then I have that other part who made some choices, and it's like a conflict between them.
Yeah.
Um, and
Yeah. It's
like,
not just one inner critical voice, it's like a number of different voices that seems to be needing a mediator.
yeah, and then we are that practicing that process is like I'm practicing being my inner mediator, and then I can resolve issues that were impossible before. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I've been through that. People who have been struggling for 10, 20 years with problems with themselves, and then within an hour they have the clarity that helps them take the next step. But but what I find interesting is that it seems like when we learn to do that, like talk to different sides, it's almost like two friends who get to know each other more, so they can start to consider each other's interests. And so it creates like an inner cooperation, like, so one becomes more integrated, more loving, more inclusive with oneself. And so my what I want to talk about is, so how to get to that. Well, you could practice this process, but like, what are the building blocks that would take us to that more integrative way of holding our inner life?
Well, to me anyway, it sounds like you already said that, like kind of being able to listen to a multiple voices and kind of know also where to listen first, like what to go to first, so that that is heard. Because sometimes in that inner chooser, inner criticize, inner critic kind of process, many times we need to listen first to the inner critic, and then we can go back to, so what was the choice that was done back then. And it seems like knowing when and how to listen to, like, what voice first will also uh, influence the flow of that.
So not only being sensitive to the content or the voices, but also being able to prioritize who to listen to first, to kind of get to a more integrated view, rather than uh, so it sounds like it's two sides. It's prioritizing and it's being sensitive and holding
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, because working with ourselves, we can become so sensitive and inclusive that we get really lousy at decision making, like deciding, well, this is first, this is second, this is third, and
Yeah.
to actually be with, you know, this is actually what comes first, can be sometimes hard when we develop that sensitivity.
Yeah, and to know what is priority, we also need to know, where am I going? Like, what do I want out of this? Do I want to reconcile? Do I want to learn? Or do I just want to listen? Uh,
Yeah. And do I have like, for me, when I do that process, it's like I want to expand on my relationship to myself. I want to be more than either this or either that. I want to be both, and to have some kind of relationship with myself in mind. And then I find that the door opens to another kind of curiosity for myself. It's like, well, who am I? But it's not on the level of when I was a teenager and I said, I want to know who I am and I'm going to go into the world and I'm going to see who I am. But it's another kind of, like, how is it possible that I experience an I that speaks in a certain way? And that kind of curiosity is different than wanting to kind of name one part of myself as the inner critic or one part of myself as the chooser. It's another kind of openness for our inner being.
yeah. Yeah, this is fascinating. It reminds me of some other conversation we've had recently about the words that can be hard to translate into English, that we have in the Nordic, in Sweden, like skynda, bråttom,
Hinna,
hinna,
orka.
orka, and to kind of try to translate them, it's skynda is to like hurry.
Well, it's to hurry, but not just hurry up. It's more than that, I'd say.
Like pushing.
Pushing. Yes. Go
And
faster.
yeah, so it's like the winter is coming. You better push, push,
Mm-hmm.
push. So I find this interesting that words that turn into thoughts, that turn into motivation, are affected by where we live.
Mm.
Like the seasons are very different and very strong here.
Yeah.
And to survive here, we would need to develop certain skills just to be able to do that. And then that becomes embedded in the language, and the language is how we think, and how we think is also influencing how we act. So
Mm-hmm.
I have noticed that I have a lot of unhappiness or dissatisfaction because I always want more. I always want to skynda. I want to uh, kind of push forward, and it's hard to celebrate.
You're gonna hinna. The more you hinna, the more you can put into a day, the happier you will be. But at the end of the day, you will not be any happier. But it's like a promise of, if you hinna this, if you're able to do this, then you will be happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that also, when you started talking about, so who am I? So this leads me to like, oh, so I'm born in Finland, and I've been learning Swedish, speaking Swedish most of my life. And who would I be if I would be living closer to the equator? Different culture, different environment. So
Different norms, different language.
yeah.
Mm.
So we're not gonna promise to kind of deliver any answer on who am I, or who are you who are listening to this. Um, and we've been talking already for an hour or something. Is there anything else we want to add, Liv? Like, are we done, or is this like a?
Well, it felt like the last thing you just said feels like okay, we're not going to promise anything, but I want to promise something, and I want to promise that it's worth paying attention to our inner voice. It's worth getting to know what's going on. It's worth it because it's fun. It's worth putting some attention to my inner dialogue because I will be more able to nuance it and to use it in my communication. So it's well worth time in getting to know more things around how can I speak to myself. Uh, I'm not going to promise that you learn that from this podcast, but it's worthwhile. That's something I want to say.
All right, I agree. It was more the promise of knowing who I am, coming to the end answer. But I can promise that if we spend time on getting to know our inner voices, we will, and with an kind of attitude of embracing them, we will love ourselves more
Hmm.
and understand ourselves more, and also being able to make choices that will kind of meet more of our needs.
Yeah, and on a dark day like this, to me, it's kind of the light in the dark. It's like if I can bring more love to myself or to others, well, then it's worth it. If nothing else, there will be a little bit more of that love, and then it's worthwhile.
Maybe that is why we live in the north. So 6 months, a year, we have to practice being the inner light when the external light is kind of turned off. Uh,
Well, there are more reasons. It's a great place to live, even if it's dark at some weeks of the year.
yeah. All right. So thanks for another conversation,
Yeah.
and let's continue in the next one.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us in this conversation with Liv Larson and Kay Rung. If you want to explore more of their work, upcoming trainings, or dive deeper into nonviolent communication, You'll find resources at www.frirelive.com. In the show notes, you'll also find links to books mentioned in this episode, as well as more information about our international mediation program and the Reimagine Communication program, designed for those who want to deepen their practice in mediation and bring nonviolent communication more fully into everyday life. Thanks for listening. And until next time, stay curious, stay connected.